Hey, this is Christian from moichrija Production, and this is going to be a tutorial on the Protego Effect on the train track and the train track extended video on YouTube. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm sorry that it took me this long to make the tutorial. It's just that I didn't know how to make one before, but now I figured out a way to do it. Anyways, all the effects and the compositing and editing were done in After Effects CS4. I used Action Essentials 2 from videocopilot.net and optical flares from videocopilot.net as well. And I also use Trapcode Particular 2. Anyways, this is a shot from the video, and the Protego effect happens somewhere around here. Quickly, I'm just going to go ahead and add a curves adjustment and a brightness and contrast. You don't need to do this now, you can actually do it at the end if you'd like, but I prefer to do it at this moment. I'm just going to go ahead and add a solid layer, name it particular. I'm going to go Effect, Trapcode, Particular. Alright, for the position of the emitter, you want it to be somewhere near my hand. That's me right here. You want the position to be somewhere near where the effect is actually going to need to be applied. So right about here looks right. We're going to go ahead and recompose the particular layer. We're going to rename it Protego, and we're going to go into that layer. Alright, at the 6th frame mark, we're going to go ahead and set a keyframe for the particles per second, the position XY, the position Z, and the velocity. We're going to change the direction from uniform to disk, and this is actually very, very, very important. We're going to set the particulars per second to 0, the velocity to 0 as well, and all of these other features, all of these other velocity features to 0. We're going to go down to the particles, and we're going to set the size to 1 so that they're very, very small. We're going to set the life to about 1.5. We're going to set the particle type to sphere. And we're going to go to the size over life, and this is actually very important. We're going to set it to this ramp here, so that way it fades out. Or if you actually don't do this, you can actually choose to do the opacity over life. But I just prefer to do the size over life, because towards the end, this disk direction here does weird thing where everything just goes back in. You'll see. I'll show it to you guys later. We're going to set the color to something, and we're going to set the transfer mode to add, even though this layer will also be set to add. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and add a background layer, black, just position at the bottom, and I'm going to go to the beginning of the composition and set the velocity to about 400, and offset the position back a little bit and down, and the position Z, we actually want it to be 0 at the beginning, and then at the 6th frame mark we want it to be about 730 or something, something to just offset this position. Alright, at the beginning here, the particles, we want it to be a lot, so about 200,000 should do, and then it gives us this nice effect. And if we didn't have, if this was set to just a normal ramp, this is what we would have gotten. It retracted back to the middle, and we don't want that. So that's why we actually have to set this ramp, so that way it fades out. All right, we're gonna go down to the physics on the turbulence field, air, turbulence field, and we're going to play with the effect position, I'm gonna set mine to about maybe 280. You can go ahead and set yours to whatever you'd like, or something less than that. Well, the effect size, it's not required, but I guess I'll just set it to 2. You don't really want to set to a huge number. I've never really tried. And the gravity, you don't need to play with this. I mean, unless you want to float up or down after it's actually being emitted. But I guess I'll just put it to -10. So that I guess it just seems to stay in there instead of, or maybe go up a little bit. Alright. If we go back to the train video here, we can actually see that the effect is at an angle. We're not actually staring right at the effect, so we need to position it. We need to play with the angle here, and we're gonna do it with the Y rotation. So we're just gonna rotate this, and this will vary for your composition. So I can start right there because it's in an angle. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Yep. And I think that's all we need to do for particular. I believe so. We're gonna go ahead and add a glow to the layer. Stylize glow, and then we're gonna go ahead and duplicate this twice. We're gonna take the bottom copy and add a CC vector blur and put it about 17, the amount, and then move the glow down. And also we're gonna add a Gaussian blur, and then set that to about 10. Alright, this layer, we're gonna go ahead and add a CC vector blur as well, and set it to the same amount, about 17, or higher or lower. And then we're also gonna go and add a fast blur. Repeat edges and then set it to about 50. One thing that I did was that I lowered the opacity on the middle one, on the one where it's just the particles, because I think you see too much of the particles and we really don't want to see too much of it. So I lowered it to about 50, and I think that was good. I also added a final adjustment layer, and I added a fast blur to it. Oh, actually, I forgot to set, all of this need to be set to add. Alright, back to the adjustment layer, repeat edges, and then we're going to set the amount to about 400. And this layer also needs to be set to add. And this is what we have. Alright, one thing that I did is that when you actually see the effect, we only want to see the impact. We don't want to see it grow from nothing into something big. We kind of want to see that where it's already set an impact to it. So at the 6 frame mark, I just went ahead and trimmed all the particular layer so that way we just start right there at the 6 frame mark, and then just go on from there. Alright, yeah. So that's all I did for particular. You might want to play with the angle if you like, and change it a little bit to make it look better, but I think that's alright. We're gonna go ahead and set the Protego layer to add and position it. Well, I blocked the spell somewhere around here, so maybe for 104. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move it right here. And since the Protego, actually, well, I need to position it well. I'm just gonna move it, well, no, P. I'm just gonna move it back a little bit. Well, since this Protego layer plays kind of slow, I made it play fast by making it go twice as fast. So just set the stretch factor to 50, and that way it goes kind of fast. You might want to lower the, effect position on the physics right here. I may set it to something lower, so that way you kind of see the ripples of the disc direction. But then if you change that, then you're gonna have to change it for the other layers as well. But I'm just gonna leave it to the way it is now. It gives it a different look from what I had on the actual video, but I actually like this one as well. It's not that bad. And that was basically all I did really for the Protego effect. You can go ahead and maybe add a turbulence displace or displacement map, but I don't think I did for this one. I just left it the way it was. And for the spell, I went ahead and made a solid, and I used optical flares to make the incoming spell. Effect, Video Copilot, optical flares, and I went to the options and I just used the two glows here so that you can actually change the color, make it to be a different color, red or green. But I'm just gonna leave it like this. Okay. I set the layer to add and I moved it down below. I switched on the motion blur for the layer and for the composition as well. And I keyframed the position for the optical flares. Here, at this point here, we want it to be right at the end, where the hand is. So somewhere right here. And then, so maybe here, you want it to come from far out there. It depends how, you can actually play with keyframes and make it longer or shorter, however you'd like it to be. So just like that. And maybe we might want to make the scale a little bigger. Maybe the brightness a little bigger too. That way maybe we see more. Actually, maybe not. Just leave the scale to about 100 and yeah, I think that's fine. Alright. And also what I did was I added an adjustment layer for the Protego effect, so that we see where the light impacted our bodies. I moved it below the Protego, and I added a curves adjustment I bumped up the RGB. Actually, no, that's right. No. And I think I also bumped up the blue, so that way it's kind of, because that's the color of the spell and also the color of the Protego. Yeah. So yeah, I think I also maybe, well, let's just go ahead. I'm just gonna go ahead and mask in the areas where the light would be affecting us. So maybe my head and my arm, maybe this part of my body here, and my jeans would be affected by it. And also part of my friend's body here would be affected as well. So we're just going to go ahead and make a mask right here so that these areas are included as well. And we need to feather these masks. I think about 20 works. Alright. If you take a look at that, actually it looks really nice. And actually what we can do is actually add a glow to that adjustment layer, so that way it's even sharper, or so that way it kind of gives it an interesting look as well. But then we need to keyframe the opacity from 100 to 0 after a few frames. After about 4 frames, set it to 0. And it's not really necessary to keyframes the mask paths, but if you want, you can just go ahead and do it. And then just adjust them. Alright, that's about it. Yeah, so that's what we end up having. The spell comes, and then right there we have a block, and then we have the glow on us. And also you can actually go ahead and maybe put some more light on the ground. Maybe the Protego is impacted over there as well. And I also added a final adjustment layer for the whole thing, and I just added exposure. I set it to 1, and I'm just gonna set this layer to add and play with the opacity as well. So right about here I want it to be over, like after a few frames. I think 3 frames or 4 frames, because you don't really want it to last that long, because then you would take away from actually seeing how the Protego looks like. So you kind of want to get rid of that top adjustment layer as quick as possible. And it might be a little too bright here, so maybe I'll drop it to like 70 something, and then set it to 0 here. Well, you see the light come first, and then you see the spell, and then bam. I think that's all I did. I went ahead and pre-composed all of these layers. I added a camera shake, and also the aspect ratio, and maybe a final adjustment layer where I color corrected the entire shot with the effect. But I think that was all. That's all I did for the Protego effect. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and If you guys have any more questions, just let me know and I will try my best to help you guys. Thank you. Bye.